Welcome to this deep dive on international travel for U.S. permanent residents, especially those originally from high-scrutiny countries or who obtained residency through sensitive paths like asylum. To begin, we will set expectations. The law grants lawful permanent residents the right to return with a valid green card, but practical enforcement at the border can be more restrictive. As we move through this video, we will explain the legal landscape, the real border experience, the heightened scrutiny risks, and step-by-step preparation to reduce problems. We will also illustrate secondary inspection dynamics, provide a pre-travel checklist, and help you decide whether to postpone travel until naturalization. Finally, we'll share key takeaways and a clear action plan. Let's get started. Here's our roadmap. First, we will frame the current climate. Next, we will contrast legal rights with how things work at the border. Then, we will unpack secondary inspection and common risk signals. After that, we will walk through a preparation checklist and decision guidance. We will briefly discuss the path to naturalization, test your understanding with quick quizzes, and close with key takeaways and a disclaimer. To set the stage, lawful permanent residents can travel internationally with a valid green card. Yet the political and enforcement climate has introduced unpredictability. In particular, LPRs from countries that receive heightened security attention may face increased scrutiny when returning to the United States. If your green card was obtained through sensitive paths, such as asylum, you may experience more probing questions. This backdrop doesn't change your legal status, but it can influence the process, timing, and emotional cost of re-entry. Legally, an LPR with a valid green card and a clean record generally has the right to re-enter the United States. Presidential travel bans typically exempt lawful permanent residents. However, in practice, especially for travelers from high-scrutiny countries, CBP frequently refers individuals to secondary inspection. In secondary, officers can review your immigration history in detail, including how you obtained your status and whether you have maintained U.S. domicile. The outcomes range from routine admission to significant delays, and in rare cases, detention or issuance of a notice to appear. The diagram shows a common path: travel, primary inspection, a branching decision based on country of origin or other flags, and then either admission or secondary. Thorough preparation reduces the chances of prolonged scrutiny and helps you navigate the process more confidently. On the legal side, a valid green card generally secures the right to return, assuming no disqualifying conduct. Compliance with tax obligations and a clean criminal record strengthen your legal position. Furthermore, many broad executive travel restrictions carve out exemptions for LPRs. Conversely, in practice, CBP officers may still refer high-scrutiny nationals to secondary inspection, where they can thoroughly examine your immigration history, assess your ties to the United States, and evaluate whether you might have abandoned residence. Practical realities include delays, in-depth questioning, and, although uncommon for those with clean records, possible detention. This dynamic underscores the need to prepare beyond the letter of the law. At secondary inspection, expect more thorough questioning about your trip purpose, duration abroad, ties to the United States, employment, residence, and tax filings. Officers may check databases, review your prior immigration applications, and inspect your documents. They may also ask about travel to your country of origin, including whether you visited a country from which you once sought protection. Maintain composure, answer truthfully and consistently, and present organized evidence. The goal is to demonstrate ongoing U.S. domicile and compliance with the conditions of permanent residence. Typical risk signals include prolonged or repeated absences, especially any single trip exceeding 6 months, suggesting potential abandonment of residence. Weak proof of U.S. domicile, such as lacking a lease, utility bills, or a current job, may raise questions. Tax issues, including unfiled returns or declarations implying non-residency, can be problematic. Officers may scrutinize sensitive immigration histories, including asylum. Travel to sensitive regions or engagement with high-risk entities can prompt deeper review. Finally, inconsistent statements or missing documentation during inspection can escalate concerns. Recognizing these risk factors allows you to prepare stronger evidence to counter adverse inferences. Before travel, verify your passport and green card expiration dates. Assemble proof of ongoing U.S. domicile, employment letters or recent pay stubs, a current lease or mortgage, utility bills, and bank statements. Print recent tax returns, or IRS transcripts, for at least the last 3 years. Maintain a round-trip itinerary, and if a longer stay is unavoidable, Evaluate whether a reentry permit is appropriate. Organize your documents in a labeled folder for quick access during inspection. Additionally, consider digital hygiene by securing devices and social media accounts to avoid misunderstandings. Plan extra time for possible secondary inspection, and keep an attorney's contact information readily available should questions become complex. Use this table as a packing checklist for your carry-on documents. Each item supports a specific aspect of your continuing U.S. residence: identity and status, employment ties, domicile, financial activity, tax compliance, travel intent, and contingency planning. Carry originals where appropriate and clear copies for quick reference. This sequence diagram shows the usual flow. The traveler presents a passport and green card. The CBP officer asks brief questions about purpose and duration and runs database checks. If certain factors trigger concern, the officer may refer the traveler to secondary inspection. There, you may be asked for documents to substantiate employment, residence, and tax compliance. The officer reviews your immigration history, including status acquisition and maintenance of domicile. Ultimately, outcomes range from straightforward admission to deferred inspection, parole, or in rare cases, detention. Throughout, remain calm, answer narrowly and honestly, and use your documents to corroborate your statements. Here are practical Markdown formatted tips for the CBP conversation. Keep answers short, precise, and factual. State your trip purpose in one sentence, and be specific about dates. When prompted, present ties such as employment letters, pay stubs, leases, and utilities. Avoid humor, arguments, and volunteering extra information that is not requested. Maintain consistent timelines and details. If your background includes asylum, and you traveled near your country of origin, be prepared to articulate a lawful, narrow reason for the trip, and how your circumstances differ from those at the time of asylum, without undermining your prior claims. Quiz time. Question: which lawful permanent resident is most likely to face secondary inspection upon re-entry? Option A: valid documents, short trip, strong ties, low-risk country. Option B: individual from a high-scrutiny country with long absences and weak domicile proof. Option C: valid green card and a recently approved naturalization application. Option D: returning after 1 day from Canada, carrying an employer letter, and recent tax returns. You may pause the video now to think about the answer. We will discuss the answer in the next section. The correct answer is B. A traveler from a high-scrutiny country who has taken long absences and has weak proof of U.S. domicile aligns with multiple risk signals that commonly result in secondary inspection. Second quiz: which document set best demonstrates strong U.S. domicile at the border? Option A: passport only. Option B: passport, green card, and return ticket. Option C: passport, green card, employment letter, pay stubs, lease, utilities, and recent tax returns. Option D: passport plus social media screenshots. You may pause the video now to think about the answer. We will discuss the answer in the next section. The correct answer is C. This comprehensive bundle substantiates ongoing employment, residence, and tax compliance, precisely the categories CBP examines when assessing U.S. domicile and intent to maintain permanent residence. Deciding whether to travel involves balancing legal rights against practical risks and emotional cost. If your status was hard-won, such as through asylum, and you are approaching eligibility for naturalization, delaying discretionary travel can be a prudent choice. If travel is unavoidable, reduce risk by shortening the trip and carrying robust evidence of ties and compliance. The pie chart is a self-check. Weigh your legal certainty and necessity against unknowns, and your tolerance for potential delays or stress. Naturalization typically simplifies international travel and reduces anxiety at the border. If you are eligible or close to eligibility, consider prioritizing the citizenship process. Consult official USCIS guidance regarding continuous residence, physical presence, and good moral character. While naturalization is not an instant solution, it can change your risk calculus for future trips. To recap, lawful permanent residents have the legal right to return, but practical enforcement may be more demanding for high-scrutiny nationals. Secondary inspection is common. Arrive prepared with well-organized proof of domicile, employment, and tax compliance. Keep trips short. Avoid repeated long absences, and maintain consistent ties. Anticipate potential delays. If naturalization is on the horizon, consider postponing non-essential travel until your risk profile improves. Disclaimer: this content is for educational purposes only and does not constitute legal advice. Immigration decisions are fact-specific and can change with policy and enforcement shifts. Before making travel decisions that carry risk, consult a qualified immigration attorney familiar with your history and current law. In closing, you should understand the difference between legal rights and practical enforcement. Expect secondary inspection if you are from a high-scrutiny country, and plan accordingly. Carry comprehensive documentation proving your U.S. domicile and tax compliance. Keep trips short and avoid frequent long absences. If you are nearing naturalization, reassess whether non-essential travel is worth the potential stress. Thank you for watching. If you found this valuable, please like, share, and subscribe. Share your thoughts or questions in the comments so we can continue the conversation and help others navigate similar situations.